Cloudcast Media.
Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, and it's always a good day when we have our friends in from the VAPA Foundation. As our listeners know, when the word VAPA comes up, I can't talk enough about it, because if Drew ran the world in education, that is the only subject we would be offering, because every content area, from science to language arts to history to social studies to chemistry, can be taught through VAPA. Nice to see you again, Michael. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
You bet. Michael Angelo Camacho is the executive director of the VAPA Foundation, and brought a colleague of his in, Lisa Sokolowski. She's the media arts resource teacher for San Diego Unified School District. How you doing, Lori?
Great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll start with you on this, Michael, for our guests that might not remember. What's the mission of the foundation?
The mission of the foundation is to enhance art education for San Diego Unified School District, both the access to and quality of.
Exactly. How long have you been in this position?
I've been in this position since October 2020.
Okay, so you've been doing this for a while. And then, Lori, you're at the district office. How long have you been doing that?
I started in August. It's a new position.
Okay, very, very good. And there's a VAPA, I'm assuming a director at the central office, and a coordinator, and the whole team with you folks?
Yeah, the team has grown quite a bit and will continue to grow. Our director, Russ Burling, has built a really great team, and there are 5 resource teachers for each arts discipline. Nice. I'm glad to see that it's growing in that direction. And how many schools do you folks are under your tutelage, so to speak?
Well, in San Diego Unified, there's over 100 schools.
100 schools, okay, right. And it's you're doing it pretty much even pre-K, TK, up through high school?
That is correct.
Yeah, that sounds great on this. So what would you say, Michael, you've been on the show before, since we met last time. Any new challenges, things that you guys have been doing a little bit differently? What's been going on in your world?
I think it's learning about the Prop 28 rollout and reacting to that and being part of that rollout.
Okay, and talk a little bit about that. What's the Prop 28 rollout?
So Prop 28 was a proposition that passed this past November, which funds art education in unprecedented amounts. Not since the 70s have we had a pocket of money that is specifically dedicated to arts and music and other art disciplines.
Right, exactly. Now, that is through the whole county, while you guys focus on San Diego Unified. That money, I imagine, is with the other 42 school districts, correct?
That is correct.
Yeah. Do you work together? Do you see a lot of work between your district and, let's say, Poway or Sweetwater or others?
I would say that San Diego Unified is kind of the leader in really developing this, and we are mostly conversating with the county. Right. And through those conversations, they are kind of creating a best practice and processes. I'm just going to mention a quick name, Pauline Crooks, who's the VAPA coordinator at San Diego County Office for Education.
Yes.
She is the region lead in terms of what is that going to look like for San Diego?
Right, exactly. And as we were talking right before the show, I've been, honored to be working with the Classroom of the Future Foundation, which is considered an arm of the County Office of Education, helps raise funds for a variety of programs. Our focus is on college and career pathways, but that is something when we talk about jobs and what does the future look like. VAPA is an absolutely perfect way to do this aspect of it. So, Lori, in your role as a media, arts resource teacher, what do you focus on specifically?
Well, this is the first time we've had a media arts resource teacher in the district, and Prop 28 specifically calls out media arts as one of the arts disciplines, but media arts isn't officially in state ed code. there's not a credential for it. So historically, media arts has lived kind of in the visual arts world. It's very, very interdisciplinary. And then when you get to the secondary level with CCTE pathways in the arts, media, and entertainment industry sector. So coming into the VAPA office, we're thinking about big picture, like growing media arts from UTK up. So students are prepared with those skills. In 2023, technology, digital art, digital communication, and then feeding into those pathways at the secondary level.
Such as what we're doing here in podcasting, correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And, that's such a no-brainer when it comes to that aspect of it. Do you folks in your world, Lori, and you jump in too, Michael, on this, do you work with the schools on showing them how to set up a podcast if indeed they're interested? Or do you do one of those through the district office?
That's something definitely down the line we'll start getting into that. I think right now it's really building relationships, seeing what needs teachers have, and then looking to find, what kind of resources they need and finding funding to get, I'm pricing out things like podcast kits, video production kits, and seeing how we can support schools with those skills so teachers can use them. Right.
So I'll do a commercial for one of my adventures in Cloudcast Media. This is brought to you by Cloudcast Media. That's what we do. We're working with the schools. I think you met Charles Parisi, my business partner, in this aspect of it. And I think Charles, an innovator and entrepreneur since he was 25, he found out about podcasting. He used to know about it for a while, just the nature of what he does. He was on my show because his daughter, he came up with a concert to benefit homeless teens called Songs for Shelter. And, that certainly fits into the world of VAPA, to say the least, in that aspect. Well, he became the vice chair of a charter school as part of San Diego Unified called the School of Entrepreneurship and Technology. So he put together a program where they did set radio and they did their own podcast. And it was it was absolutely fascinating. We're chatting with Lori Sokolowski. She's a media arts resource teacher for San Diego Unified, joined by our colleague, Michael Angelo Camacho, the executive director of the VAPA Foundation. Michael, you are laser beamed on anything that is fun. Of course, that's probably one of the benefits of your job. Every day is going to bring you some of that aspect. Talk about your work with the San Diego International Film Festival. And they've been just great guests on this show. And I love chatting with those folks.
Yes. Well, one of the main roles of this VAPA Foundation is really to build bridges between San Diego Unified and the art organization partners, making sure that they have easier ways to get into the school systems and bring their services to this student population.
Right. So do you work with Tanya Mantooth quite a bit?
I've had a few meetings with her. I usually am thinking more on the strategic level and asking the questions like, well, what do you want to bring to San Diego Unified? And let me connect you to the resource teacher or to the principal where that program might be a best fit.
Right, and she's been the artistic director for the film festival for a while, and she's quite a force and a frequent guest on our Spotlight show. And we always talk about the thing that's near and dear to her heart is what you guys do, and that's about education and so forth. Talk a little bit about Focus on Impact Film Series. What's that about?
Would you like to share more, Lori?
Sure. That was actually one of the first things I kind of took lead on when I joined the department.
Sure.
And currently, as it is, it's a 6-series film festival that are they're short films that teachers can access virtually in their classroom. And Tanya has been really great and flexible, and her team with making sure that teachers have access to those films for a few days rather than just a set time, so they can show it in all their class periods. But really, the goal is that these are films that will help students build empathy, learn about others, and really connect on that human level through film.
Yeah, and I want to touch on that a little bit more when we chat about that, because that is something that just oozes out of your mouths, of course, empathy. We need a lot more of that in this world, to say the least, in this stuff. And, of course, that's what all those Focus on Impact film series is about with the International Film Festival and others as well. I'm Drew Schlosberg, and you're listening to another edition of Spotlight on the Community, brought to you by Cloudcast Media and sponsored by Mission Fed Credit Union. We're here in the beautiful Mission Fed studios here in Scripps Ranch, and Mission Fed's been doing wonderful things for San Diegans for more than 60 years. I want to glom on to what you just said, Lori, about empathy, and that's what that Focus on Impact is all about, and certainly it's learning about those different types of things. We all know, unless you've been in the space station mirror in the last 5 years, that this world needs a lot more empathy. What a better way to do it than film, correct?
Absolutely, yeah.
So you learn, okay, so how is that translated to the students? How do you work with the students to get them to understand this? They watch the films, of course. Is there follow-up on this? How does that tie into it?
So the resource teacher team works together, coming up with guiding questions, right, and we share those with teachers. Film is, one of the best examples of media arts because it is so interdisciplinary. You're talking about the visual aspect of it, music, the acting. So together we come up with ways that every student can access, the themes and things that are coming up in the films.
Yeah, and I think, Michael, one of the challenges on some of these, it's a good challenge. A lot of filmmakers do, of course, and so forth. And you being a photographer, Lori, the same thing in this aspect of it. But especially with the students, because these films really focus on very complex social issues, do they not, Michael?
They do.
And so do you bring in experts that can help them with it, that can say it's more than this at the surface level? Here's what we really need to dig into?
Yes, I think that's one of the roles, really, to bring in experts in the field to have discussions on these very complex topics. Because if you really think about it, I'm glad that President Biden has removed the emergency state that we're in.
Right.
But we can't forget that there was so much learning loss that occurred, and a lot of human development that might not have occurred because people were not in the classroom.
Yeah, they weren't shoulder to shoulder with someone, to say the least. And it's so funny, you take that for granted until you don't have it, right? Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, because I think in some cases people go, I wouldn't mind a few days away from this, and then wait a minute, I didn't want it 2 days to turn into 18 months in that aspect, as well. Do you have, and you can jump on this too, Lori, when you get into some of the trickier, complex social issues, I'm a former journalist, so I think it's great to get that stuff out there, if done in the right way, of course. We know in some cases there's some pushback on some of these things. Drew's opinion, and this is Drew's opinion, that's a bunch of nonsense. We should be talking about all of these things in the right environment and giving the education to it. I'm hoping that the parents are really supportive of what you folks are doing, Michael.
Yes. I think getting parents engaged is a big piece of this work. And really, one of the positive results of COVID is the fact that we've become more virtual and that we are able to provide these types of programming virtually because we've recorded them.
That's so true. It's funny. We've had a lot of the theater groups in. And, of course, when pandemic hit, they were doing all their plays, Scripps France Theater or Oceanside Theater Company, as you guys know better than anybody, virtually, which was sort of new for them, right? And that, but now they can do this, and that's a whole new skill set in that area. So we come back from break. I want to talk a little bit more about that aspect as well. And Lori, what are the things that our listeners can do? And Michael, we always ask this question in the second half of the interview. What can we do to support your efforts in terms of, donations help? Do volunteers help? Do experts in the field help, and so forth? So maybe you folks can think about that when we return with our friends from the VAPA Foundation. I'm Drew Schlosberg, and you're listening to another edition of Spotlight on the Community, brought to you by Cloudcast Media and sponsored by Mission Fed Credit Union, doing great things for San Diegans for more than 60 years. We will be right back.
When you do your banking with Mission Fed, you get great rates on auto and home loans. That's good for you, but something good also happens for a lot of other people. We're not for profit, so we put money back into the community to help lots of great nonprofits to keep San Diego strong. So you're not just getting something good, you're doing something good. Come to Mission Fed. It's banking that's good for all.
Brand amplification is the DNA of Cloudcast Media, and our code is the powerful blending of sound, voice, and storytelling to lift local brands and their communities. Whether it is our Brandcast, Schoolcast, or Causecast platforms, the unifying ethos is all about this community, the one you call home. If you dare to dream and want to explore the brand amplification of Cloudcast, a national leader in local podcasting and other Winfluence strategies, please visit us at cloudcast.us.
I'm Drew Schlosberg, and you're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community, show on Cloudcast Media, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, doing great things for San Diegans for more than 60 years. We were with our friends from the VAPA Foundation and San Diego Unified. Michael Angelo Camacho is the executive director of the VAPA Foundation, joined by his colleague, Lisa Sokolowski, media arts resource teacher for the district. So, Lori, your background or your area of expertise is media arts, correct?
Right.
Right. What got you into that?
A teacher in school.
Really?
Yep.
So as a kid, did you always had a camera around you, or you're younger, so it's probably a phone, digital phone, something like that, things that we didn't have when I was a young student, and so forth.
It sure wasn't a phone; those weren't invented yet. The phone cameras, yeah.
Right, exactly.
It was. Do you remember those 110 film cameras?
Of course.
Long, skinny ones.
Of course.
Yeah, I would set up my Barbies and take pictures.
Beautiful, beautiful. So that's how it all started, right?
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So, in the world of media arts, and again, Michael was talking about this great proposition that got passed, brought a lot of money into this field, and then that's the position you have. What can our listeners do to support your efforts?
Well, I think at the state level, we're trying to advocate for adding media arts into Ed Code as the official fifth arts discipline.
Right.
And I think supporting students' creation using those tools, especially when it comes to the classroom and traditional curriculum and things like that.
Right. So being an advocate for the media arts aspect of it, and maybe making that a credentialed program, so to speak, at the college level.
Yeah, that is the big goal. Yeah.
Right, exactly. But how about with, getting people in the classroom that can do guest lectures and work with the students? Is that something that you folks focus on?
Absolutely, yeah. We work with some arts organizations already who come into the classroom and teaching artists who lead sessions using media arts. Right.
So if you're one of those folks and you're listening to the show, please contact, Lori. She's at the San Diego Unified School District office in the VAPA division, so to speak, or contact Michael Camacho, Executive Director of VAPA Foundation. So how much do you work with sort of the experts in the field? that bringing them into the classroom or putting them together with students or teachers or both?
I would say I'm more of a connector. And so I do meet with a lot of people, both within the district, but also the people who we want to bring into the district to provide services. And part of that is really seeing how people want to give. We receive all sorts of donations, including in kind. This past, I'm going to say last semester, we must have brought in over $250,000 in in-kind art supplies.
Oh, nice. Spread across all the different district schools, so to speak?
Exactly. Because we are the second largest district in California, and we serve over 20% of the county.
Yeah.
There's so much need in San Diego Unified alone.
Right.
And so encouraging people, finding like what excites them, how to be excited about giving, because giving feels good.
Well, giving feels good, and especially in something, and it's good to hear about this resurgence in VAPA. For so many years, it was, not the case, so to speak. This is the area that was cut, which was foolish. But I think people have recognized that was foolish for many different reasons in this. And not to put anybody on the bus on that, but if you think of an area where you want to make sure it thrives, it's getting those kids involved in music and theater and dance and photography, where they may be best at expressing themselves that way than it is somewhere else. That's not an earth-shaking comment, but when you eliminate that, that really puts a curb on that. Michael, talk about your VAPA Enhancement Program. What's that all about?
The VAPA Enhancement Program is a grant program that VAPA teachers can apply for. And the things that they can apply for are things like professional development, so they could teach these students better.
Right.
Field trips, art supplies, and really also art residencies, bringing in art organizations to bring in dance, media arts, and other types of programming.
Right. Would poetry fall under that?
It does.
It does, right, exactly. A million years ago, dating myself here, not quite a million years ago, we were involved with a project called Border Voices. And if you're familiar with it, it was a big poetry project actually started by one of my colleagues at the San Diego Union Tribune. His name was Jack Webb. He was an editor and just was fascinated with poetry, got his Master of Arts in creative writing, and put this thing on. And I know they had resident poets come in and chat about that. Do you still do those types of things?
Yeah, well, I want to develop it more, if I was being honest. Perhaps not through the VAPA Enhancement Program. Right. But a 14-year-old girl once went up to me and said, "Oh, I want to be a poet laureate, just like, Amanda." And I said, "Oh, okay, that's cool. Like, well, are there any contests that I can be involved with?" And I remember mentioning a contest that was available for 18 to 24-year-olds, and she was like, "Well, that's not youth."
Well, yeah, it is. Depends on how old you are, which lens you're looking at, right? In this, we're chatting with Michael Angelo Camacho. He's the executive director of the VAPA Foundation, joined by his colleague Lisa Sokolowski, a media arts resource teacher for San Diego Unified. I'm Drew Schlosberg. You're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. Talk a little bit about the honor concerts. That fascinates me that you folks are involved in.
Yes, one of the roles that VAPA Foundation does is sponsor a number of honor events, including media arts. But honor concerts are an opportunity, and all our honor events are opportunities for students to show their talent, to show their excellence. They have to audition, their works have to be selected, and it gets displayed in front of their parents and to the public.
Yeah, and I think we were mentioning too before, Lori, is the beauty of, visual performing arts and now media arts in your area. For those students that may not excel in a certain area in the curriculum, this is a great opportunity for them, is it not?
Absolutely. And having choices,
Yeah. Yeah, those are real critical. What would you say for you? You got all geeked up about photography when you were taking pictures of your Barbie dolls, as you were saying. Hope you still have them because they're worth a lot of money, or maybe you passed them on to someone in that aspect of it. But talk about what is so cool about, what is this focus on photography at that aspect of it? What do you love about that the most?
I think photography is a way for, it's a lot of people have a camera in their pocket, or
they do.
So it's
now they do.
yeah, it's one of the more accessible tools to create artwork. And then now we're so connected. It's a way that students can share that work. I know that for me, photography is a way just to observe and record and document what I'm seeing.
Yeah, I'm glad to see on this here that Jonathan Bailey is on your board, and John's a great guy. Is he still the head of IDEA?
I believe he has a new company. It's called 62 Above.
60. Okay, that would be John changing things out left and right and all that business. A phenomenally creative talent in the world of marketing and PR and creativity and everything in between and all that business. How long has he been on the board of the foundation?
Since its inception. He was one of the first people recruited.
Is that right? Yeah. Well, now, does he get involved with some of the stuff that you're working on? Pretty much if he said, "Hey, this is a great project I'd like to work on," does he help out?
Of course. Well, he's our current president, right. And I don't think our public relations wouldn't be so wide and grown so much this past year if we did not have his expertise.
Yeah, he has a lot of expertise in that area as well. So I'll start with you on this, Lori, and then you jump in as well, Michael. Where do you see, we'll focus on media arts at this aspect, media arts in the next 2 years, 5 years, 10 years?
Oh, my goodness. Well, I think in the next 2 years, we're working together with the visual arts to bring media arts and visual arts to our elementary students. And then, I'm going to bridge off to all the VAPA disciplines, and then the performing arts as well. Dance, theater, and music are working together to have a performing arts aspect. So I think in the next couple of years, we're going to see our elementary students with building, vocabulary and literacy in the arts. And then down the line, I think we'll see that growth upward as students get into secondary.
Yeah, and I imagine you jump into this too, Michael. But Lori, the technology, because it is improved and it is changed, it's changed by every 5 seconds. It's an equalizer now. And I use this very much in the publishing field. Back in the day, you had to go to a printer if you wanted something printer. Then we had those dot matrix printers that we thought were so cool. And it goes, we're not printing. We need to be laser printers and all this. And now it's, now someone could desktop publish themselves, in that aspect of it. But the same thing in visual arts, I imagine, Michael, and the same thing in media arts. Now you've become your own director. You've become your own photographer. You are now in charge of editing. You're now whatever. That's so important that they all can take these roles, correct?
Correct. I think one of the best things about the arts is creativity and innovation. And I'll be honest, even entrepreneurship all kind of go together. I think one of the cool things, like you said, is that people can create content and publish it themselves. They don't need this big publishing house to deliver on their product.
Right. And I think something we've been talking quite a bit about on our Spotlight shows, hope you guys' ears have been burning from afar. One of our passions here at Cloudcast Media is college and career pathways, or pathways in general. But if you look at VAPA, and everything that goes with it, the different types of jobs that are in that field that can hit on science, that can hit on sound, that can hit on, physics, that can hit on construction. There's not a job out there that if you wanted to get in this field that you couldn't sit there and navigate. Talk about how important that is for people to understand. Yeah, it's fun to put on your own films and do X, Y, and Z, but look at the skill sets that is preparing them for whatever job they want to do in the future. Talk about that.
Yes, I think one of the jobs of VAPA Foundation is really to educate people just the role of, K through 12 in the creative economy pipeline. Creating future artists who work in the, industry, but also have, creative jobs.
without question. And Lori, I share the same thing, is that, in your world here, you're explaining, this is a cool thing, but if you think that you can translate this, whether you're working for a major company and you want to be in their media department, whether it's Sony, who makes TVs and all this, or you're in the world of cyber, well, I don't know how to sit there and do any of these types of things and build things and be robotics. Yeah, but they're going to need people to put together commercials and all that, correct?
Absolutely. I think talking about creative economy, of course, but even if you don't go into a creative industry, these are skills that are part of being a human. Visual and media literacy, it's so important, and teaching our students those skills so that they can, bring that just into life. We exist in a visual world and we're connected through visual media.
Yeah, absolutely. Any final comments, Lori?
Thanks for having us.
Very, very good. How about you, Michael?
I would say visit vapafoundation.org to learn more about our media arts and other programs and events. And please support art education, not just in San Diego Unified, but all across the county.
That sounds great. And it was great chatting with you, Michael. Angelo Camacho, Executive Director of the VAPA Foundation, and Lori, a pleasure meeting you. Lori Sokolowski, the Media Arts Resource Teacher at San Diego Unified. I'm Drew Schlosberg. And you've been listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show on Cloudcast Media, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, doing great things for San Diegans for more than 60 years.
You've been listening to an episode of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego community. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
Cloudcast Media.